Welcome to BIM Heroes Radio. For our very first deep dive, we're going to be taking a look at Week 1 of the BIM Heroes Leadership Development Program.
Yeah, it's free, by the way, so anyone can sign up.
Absolutely. And you get points for participating on the platform.
That's right. Plus, you get insights from so many great leaders in the AEC industry.
All in one place. There are actually 72 items in the full 12-week program.
Wow, 72.
I know. Covers 6 core topics each week.
That's a lot of content to unpack.
It is. But don't worry, we're here to help. Today, we're kicking things off with the fundamentals of leadership.
Week 1.
Exactly. It's all about, as Ralph Montague puts it, stepping into that hero's role.
I like that.
Me too. It's a great way to think about leadership.
It is. And Ralph would know he's the director of the BIM Coordinator Summit and Arcdox.
And of course, the founder of BIM Heroes.
That's right.
So for this deep dive, we've got articles from 6 different contributors.
Each one with their own unique perspective on leadership.
Absolutely. It's going to be exciting to see how these different perspectives connect.
And maybe even challenge each other.
Exactly. So let's jump right in. First up, we have Larry Bridgesmith.
Executive Director and Head of Consulting at Guardrail Technologies.
That's right. And he's tackling the age-old question.
What's the difference between leadership and management?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Isn't it? It comes up all the time.
It does, and it can be a bit confusing.
You're telling me.
Well, Bridgesmith does a great job of breaking it down.
He does, and he makes it clear that it's not an either-or situation.
Right. It's not like you have to choose one or the other.
Exactly. Both leadership and management are essential.
Especially in a field like AEC.
Oh, absolutely, especially with all the moving parts in our projects.
Okay, so Bridgesmith defines leadership as influencing others towards a shared vision.
It's about inspiring people, empowering them.
Right, getting them excited about the future.
Yeah, and encouraging them to take risks, to be innovative.
Whereas management is more about, well, managing.
The day-to-day stuff.
Right, like planning, organizing, and controlling resources.
Yeah. Making sure everything runs smoothly.
Exactly.
And he highlights some key contrasts, like leadership is about vision.
Management is about execution.
Leadership inspires.
Management controls.
Leaders take risks.
Managers minimize risks.
Leaders think long-term.
And managers focus on the short term.
It's like two sides of the same coin.
It is. And when those two sides work together,
then you have a really powerful force for change.
A force for good, hopefully.
Of course.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. We have this really interesting concept from Marc Goldman,
Director of Industry Solutions at Esri.
That's right. And he calls it post-heroic leadership.
Post-heroic.
Yeah, in the context of AEC, of course.
That's interesting. So what does that even mean?
Well, it's not about having one all-powerful leader calling all the shots.
I see. So it's not about the hero leader.
Exactly. It's about shared responsibility.
Okay. So more collaborative.
Much more. It's about emotional intelligence, open communication,
shared decision-making,
building strong teams,
where everyone feels empowered to contribute.
Exactly. And it's especially important now because of the generational shift in the workforce.
Right. With millennials coming in, things are changing.
They are. They have different expectations.
Different ways of working.
And Goldman gives some great examples of how technology can support this style of leadership.
Like what?
Well, he talks about using VR and AR for collaborative design.
That's cool. I can see how that would be helpful.
Right? And he also talks about encouraging knowledge sharing between different generations of workers.
Yeah. That makes sense. So much experience to share.
I know. And get this, he even talks about leveraging AI.
To automate tasks.
Exactly. So that people can focus on more strategic and creative work.
That's really smart.
It is. And it's all about creating a more innovative and collaborative environment.
I like it.
Okay, so now let's hear from Nicoleta Panagiotidou.
Architect and founder-director of BIM Design Hub.
And she outlines 7 sequential roles that a leader takes on.
Sequential roles, like in order.
Yeah. And she emphasizes that leadership is not static.
It's not.
Nope. It's a cyclical process.
So it's constantly evolving.
Exactly. Which makes sense when you think about it.
It does.
So she starts with sensing.
Sensing.
Yeah, like gathering information, understanding the situation.
Okay, and then
it's visioning.
Creating a picture of the future.
Exactly. A compelling picture that everyone can get behind.
I see.
And from there, it's about creating the right culture.
To support that vision.
Yeah. And then enabling your team.
Giving them the resources they need.
Yes. And then deciding, making those tough calls.
And then embracing responsibility for those decisions.
Right. And finally, mentoring the next generation of leaders.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
But it makes sense when you think about the cyclical nature of leadership.
It does. It's a process, not just a position.
Exactly. And what I found particularly insightful is how Panagiotidou emphasizes that new leadership cycles can begin with evolving visions.
So you have to be adaptable.
You do. You need to be able to shift your strategies, your culture, even your tools.
That's a great point.
Okay, so next up we have Neil O'Reilly.
Director of Digital Delivery at Egis UK.
That's right. And he digs into the core values that drive effective leadership.
Values, huh? That's important.
It is. But he doesn't just give us a list of values.
He goes deeper.
He does. He really helps us understand what these values look like in action.
Okay, so what values does he talk about?
Well, he talks about influence, vision, honesty, passion, and integrity.
Good ones.
Right. And he emphasizes that influence is not about micromanaging.
It's about guiding and empowering your team.
Exactly. And vision isn't just about having a goal.
It's also about having a plan to achieve that goal.
Yes. And of course, honesty and transparency are crucial for building trust.
Absolutely. Trust is essential for any successful team.
It is. And then there's passion.
Passion.
Yeah. He talks about how passion is key for creating a positive culture.
Which leads to greater productivity.
Exactly. And then last but not least, there's integrity.
Doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, that consistency between your words and your actions. It's the foundation of trust, really.
Yes.
So out of those values, are there any that resonate particularly strongly with you?
That's a good question. I think for me, it's a combination of vision and integrity.
Those are good ones.
They are. Having a clear sense of where you're going and staying true to your values along the way, those are important.
They are. Absolutely.
What about you?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think I'd have to say honesty and passion. Those are the two that really stand out to me.
I can see that.
Okay, so this leads us perfectly into our next topic.
What's that?
The complex relationship between leadership and power.
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
It is. Because power can sometimes have a negative connotation.
Definitely. People think of power as, controlling or manipulative.
Exactly. But Onyema Udeze, a BIM expert and co-founder of BlazeMy.com.
BlazeMy.com.
Yeah, it's a really cool platform. You should check it out. Yeah. Anyway, he tackles this head on.
He does.
He does. He acknowledges those negative perceptions of power.
But he also argues that power is actually an essential tool for leaders.
When used ethically and effectively, of course.
Of course.
And he gives some great examples of how power can be used well.
Like what?
Like influencing positive actions, making tough decisions after gathering input from the team, and establishing a strong brand for your organization.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. But he also contrasts those positive uses with examples of how power can be abused.
Such as?
Like forcing people to do things, consistently excluding them from decision-making, or neglecting the long-term vision.
Oh, yeah. I can see how that would be bad.
Right. It's all about using power responsibly.
It's a delicate balance.
It is. Okay, so for our last article in this deep dive, we're bringing back Ralph Montague.
The founder of BIM Heroes.
And he's exploring his unique perspective on understanding fellowship.
Understanding fellowship.
Yeah, as a key element of successful leadership.
Interesting. I'm curious to hear what he has to say about that.
Me too. Because this one really resonated with me.
It did.
It did. It challenges the traditional image of the solitary leader.
The lone wolf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that leadership is more of a dynamic, interconnected ecosystem.
An ecosystem.
Yeah, where individuals are both leaders and followers, depending on the context.
So it's more fluid than we often think of it.
Exactly. And the real currency that makes these relationships thrive is reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
Yeah, like give and take, mutual support.
I like that.
Me too. It's about recognizing that we all have something to offer.
And something to learn.
Exactly. And that we can achieve so much more when we work together.
I think that's a really important point.
And Montague uses this really great analogy to illustrate this point.
Oh, what is it?
He compares leadership to an orchestra.
An orchestra.
Yeah. A single musician can create a lovely sound.
But together they create something truly extraordinary.
A symphony that's so much greater than the sum of its parts.
That's a great analogy.
It is. And it perfectly captures the power of fellowship and leadership.
I agree. It's about recognizing that everyone has a valuable role to play.
Whether they're leading or following in a particular moment.
Exactly.
And when we embrace this idea of fellowship,
we create a culture of mutual respect, cooperation, and shared purpose.
Which is so crucial in an industry like AEC that's undergoing so much transformation.
Absolutely. Especially with BIM, digital twins, and all these incredible technological advancements.
We need to be able to adapt, learn from each other, and support each other through these changes.
We do. And I think the BIM Heroes platform does a great job of fostering that sense of fellowship.
Absolutely. It's a space where people can come together, regardless of their experience level, to engage in these important conversations about the future of the industry.
It's about breaking down those traditional silos and creating a more connected and collaborative industry.
Exactly. And, in a way, Ralph Montague himself is kind of like the conductor of this orchestra.
I can see that.
He's created this platform, this space for dialogue and collaboration.
And he's inspiring people to step up and contribute their talent.
To shape the future of the industry.
And to bring it back to this deep dive, we're taking those insightful articles from the platform and bringing them to an even wider audience.
We're amplifying these voices, these ideas.
Hopefully inspiring even more people to become active participants in shaping the future of the AEC industry.
It's like we're extending that circle of fellowship even further.
Reaching out to people who might not have discovered the BIM Heroes community yet.
Inviting them to join the conversation.
And to keep being a hero.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about. Creating a more connected, collaborative, and ultimately a more innovative and successful industry for everyone.
Couldn't agree more. There's one more point from Montague's article that really resonated with me.
Yeah.
He talks about how reciprocity doesn't always have to feel like a fair exchange in the moment.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Especially when you're mentoring or supporting someone who's newer to the field. You might feel like you're putting in more than you're getting back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in the long run, those acts of generosity and support, they create this ripple effect.
Right.
They foster a culture of trust and support.
It's like planting seeds that will eventually grow into a beautiful garden.
You might not see the immediate impact of your actions, but you're contributing to something larger than yourself.
I love that analogy.
Well,
And it brings us to another key theme from week 1 of the program, the importance of continuous learning and development.
it's so important, especially in our field with technologies like BIM changing at such a rapid pace. There's always something new to learn.
Always. You can't just assume you have it all figured out.
Never. And as leaders, we need to foster that culture of continuous learning within our teams.
Absolutely. Encourage people to embrace new technologies, explore different ways of thinking, and seek out opportunities for growth.
And it's not just about attending conferences or taking online courses. It's about creating a learning environment where people feel comfortable asking questions, sharing their knowledge, experimenting with new ideas.
A safe space to try new things and to fail sometimes, because that's how we learn.
Exactly. Failure is just a stepping stone to success.
It is. And speaking of learning and growth, let's not forget the importance of mentoring.
Absolutely. As experienced professionals, we have a responsibility to share our knowledge and insights with the next generation.
It's about paying it forward, creating that cycle of reciprocity.
And it's not just a one-way street. Mentoring can be incredibly rewarding for both the mentor and the mentee.
You learn so much from each other. It's a win-win situation.
It is. So to wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to emphasize that leadership is not about having all the answers or being the loudest voice in the room.
Nope, it's not about that at all.
It's about embracing the principles of fellowship,
Building trust, fostering collaboration.
empowering others, and creating a culture of continuous learning and growth.
It's about recognizing that we're all in this together. We're all part of this journey of shaping the future of the AEC industry.
And when we embrace the power of fellowship.
We can achieve some pretty amazing things.
So as we move into the final part of our deep dive, keep these ideas in mind.
Think about how you can apply the principles of fellowship to your own work, your relationships with colleagues, your contributions to the BIM Heroes community.
Stay tuned for more insightful discussions about leadership as we continue exploring the highlights from week 1.
We've got so much more to uncover.
And remember,
Keep being a hero.
so we've talked about all these different aspects of leadership, and one thing that keeps coming back to me is the idea of balance.
Balance. In what sense?
Well, we've talked about leadership and management, vision and execution, risk-taking and stability, long-term thinking, and short-term action.
Right.
And it feels like finding that sweet spot, that equilibrium, is really key to effective leadership.
Yeah, you're onto something there. It's not about going all in on one approach or another. It's about constantly recalibrating, shifting that weight to maintain balance.
Exactly, like a complex dance.
Exactly. And it's not just about balancing those different leadership concepts. It's also about balancing the needs of the team, the organization, and even your own personal needs as a leader.
It's a lot to juggle.
It is,
Yeah.
literally a juggling act.
Yeah.
And you're going to drop the ball sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
But it's about having that resilience to pick yourself back up, learn from those mistakes, and keep practicing.
And that's where self-awareness comes in, which ties into the theme for week 2 of the program.
Week 2 already.
I know, right? Time flies when you're having fun.
It does. So what's the theme for week 2?
Emotional intelligence.
Ah, yes. Emotional intelligence. That's a big one.
It is. To be an effective leader, you need to understand your own strengths, weaknesses, triggers, tendencies,
Be able to manage your own emotions.
especially when things get tough.
Oh, yeah, especially then. Because if you're not in control of your own emotions...
You can't effectively lead and inspire others.
Right, exactly. It's like you have to be the calm in the storm.
The eye of the hurricane.
Yeah. And that can be tough, especially in AEC.
Oh, tell me about it. Projects are complex, deadlines are tight, stakeholders everywhere.
It's a lot to handle, so cultivating that sense of calm, that inner compass, is vital.
It is. It's a skill that can be learned and developed over time.
Through practice, mindfulness, being open to feedback.
Constantly working to become more emotionally intelligent.
And it's not just about managing your own emotions.
Right. It's also about understanding and empathizing with the emotions of others.
Building those strong, trusting relationships based on mutual respect.
That's the foundation of great leadership, I think.
It is. It's not about power or control. It's about connection and empathy.
About inspiring and empowering others.
And it's a journey, not a destination.
That's for sure. And the BIM Heroes community is there to support you every step of the way.
It is. So whether you're just starting out on your leadership journey or you're a seasoned pro,
Remember that there's always more to learn.
and you have a place in the BIM Heroes community.
Absolutely. Head over to www.bimhero.io, sign up for the Leadership Development Program.
And let's continue this conversation.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep being a hero.
We'll see you in our next deep dive.